Hey, welcome back to Maybe Actually Museums Are For Me. I'm Alex, host of the podcast, and thank you for tuning in again. I hope you've been to MAM this season, seen what we got going on. The Tom Nussbaum show is, riding high. It's been a lot of fun. Seeing the reactions of everybody coming to visit has been really special, and it has a few more weeks on view, so if you haven't had a chance to come to MAM, it's a really great chance to see it. There's a lot of fun shows going on at MAM, some long-term, some short-term, some fun stuff's coming. There's a lot of good stuff at the museum these days, and I think you should see it while you have a chance. Anyway, we haven't done it in a while, and I think it's worth always. It's always fun coming back and kind of poking and asking the audience, what they think and what they are wondering. There's a lot of questions out there in and revolving around the art world. I was talking about it with somebody the other day who asked me to kind of describe like what this show is, and it made me kind of have to think about the impetus of the show, which is about, in a lot of ways, accessibility to the arts and democratizing art, and reminding people that art and museums that house said art are for everybody. It's it's the reason why we do this show, and I think it's fun to ramble and kind of go on these like winding journeys about things that are, interesting to us, but sometimes it's nice to come back to home base and kind of just do what we do best and what we kind of started doing the show with, which is just answering questions, about the art world and about museums and about MAM, and making it feel a little bit less daunting to walk into those spaces for the first time. Anyway, like always these days, Melissa is already on microphone, and we're answering some audience questions, like I said before. So, Melissa, first, how are you? What's going on?
I'm good.
Yeah, things are good.
Yeah, things are good right now.
Nice. Have you? What is? If I don't know if I've ever actually asked you, what is your favorite in Tom right now?
Ooh,
I know this isn't an audience question; it's an Alex question. But
yeah, I really like Mr. Peanut.
Mr. Peanut.
It's
nice.
one of his sculptures. It's got a lot of little details in it. Ooh, and I really, really love his acne robots.
Yeah, you do like the acne robots.
Like
yeah.
Every time someone asks me about them, I'm like, I wish Tom still sold them commercially.
Yeah,
because I want one.
The thing about Mr. Peanut that I think is so funny is that like when you look at it, you think it's metal because he does like so many welded works in that show, and like a lot of it is metal, but there's a lot of little paper pieces that are connected, like the little sword that the guy on the horse is riding is a piece of paper. And when we did the mini concert series in the show, Annabella Poland, my old professor at Montclair State, who is kind of a ghost producer on this show, she was my professor, my podcast professor when I was a senior in college.
Without her, there would be no MAM podcast.
That is true. That is very true. But she was helping produce the event, and she was so like nervous that like the works were too fragile. And like I had talked to Tom about it. He was not concerned at all. He was very excited about the show. But yeah, essentially she was like, the second she heard that it was paper, she like shot me a dagger. And I was just like, it's fine, we're good,
Everything's fine. It's not gonna crumble.
Yeah.
I feel like a bunch of Tom's works are like that, where you think they're made up of one thing and you find out they're not, because they're all painted, so you can kind of hide the material. Like his houses, those look like they're metal, they're actually wood.
Yeah, crazy.
Painted, and
crazy. Some of it's ceramic.
Yeah. This very early work was ceramic, and then he was like, it was too fragile, I couldn't do it anymore. But
for an audience who may not be familiar with what we're talking about the artist Tom Nussbaum. He's a phenomenal local artist here to North Jersey. He's based out of East Orange. He does a lot of public art installations. It's like very folk art-y. It's amazing. Tom's great. The show's on view at MAM, but he's all around. There's public installations all over New Jersey. And the concert series that we were specifically just talking about was a show that we recently did back in November called Art is Live. It's, the first and hopefully what is going to be a series of little concerts in the galleries with local small bands, and hopefully one day bigger bands.
I highly recommend people follow Tom, because he's always posting on his Instagram. Like he'll randomly show up at the museum.
He's here all the time.
He comes like every weekend, and he'll say on his Instagram, "Oh, I'm going to be at the museum on Sunday. If anyone wants to come chat about the work or get like an impromptu tour." Like he does that on his own. He doesn't do that through us.
So. Oh yeah, that's like, it's very much his own volition. But we've rambled enough. Melissa, question from the audience.
Okay.
What are some of the museum's initiatives? And I think this counts for all museums, not just MAM. But what are some of the museum's initiatives to make art more accessible, more inclusive, the whole nine?
Going off of MAM specifically, the first thing that pops into my head is our education department does a lot of programs to be as accessible and inclusive as possible to our audience.
Yeah.
Recently, they started adding more touch and visual description tours, so people who have low vision or vision loss can come and enjoy the artwork. I think that's a really great initiative they've implemented. I think one of my favorite things we do is we do Arts RX, which I think we've spoken about before. Other episodes.
We've done a whole episode about it actually, where Celine came and talked about the program.
Yeah, where it's not our program, it's NJPAC's program, but we partner with them, and NJPAC partners with a lot of other, not just museums, but cultural institutions, theaters, dance programs, things like that.
Yeah.
To make art accessible to people. And just a quick rundown of how that works is you basically get a prescription from
a doctor,
a social worker, a therapist, a doctor to go do some art, because it's been studied a lot. It's been proven that art and other creative initiatives, they help reduce anxiety, they help people feel more connected to each other and to a community. It helps with stress. It also helps with physical issues. It helps with your fine motor skills. It helps with your cognitive thinking, all this stuff. So we've had people get a prescription and go to NJPAC, and NJPAC will match them with a program. And we have quite a few people
there's
who have taken
quite a range.
classes and workshops, and you can also use it to get into the gallery and have a tour, things like that. And I think that's a great way to make art and the artistic places in your community or surrounding community accessible.
Totally, yeah. No, totally. It's really, really important, and it's something that, I think I'm glad to see more people are utilizing. I would also like to note, we have a lot of materials in the galleries now that have kind of become omnipresent. Maybe is that too menacing? Omnipresent? Am I using that wrong?
Available,
maybe. Yeah, probably available is a better word. But like videos in the galleries, things like that.
Yeah.
QR codes to scan that can give you more details. Just like if you need more than what's available, if you want captions on the videos, like they're all present in these like in gallery media pieces.
Yeah, and like you said, QR codes that you can access certain materials like videos and gallery tours and artist talks outside the museum. You can access them on YouTube, from our website, things like that.
Yeah.
So you don't physically have to be at MAM to get the scope of it or to enjoy its contents.
Yeah. Well, Melissa, what's next on the list? What's the next question?
This question is very specific to you because it's about the podcast. And it's how do you choose which guests or topics to make on the show?
Sometimes it's premeditated. Sometimes it's on a whim. It really depends. Sometimes people will come to us with ideas. Sometimes, I have a notes document on my computer desktop with probably like 45 episodes that I kind of will dig into and figure out things. But most of the time, sometimes things are timely. We're talking about the show that's on view. We're talking about a style of art that we're presenting. Sometimes we're speaking directly with artists that are on view. Other times there's a new program like Art RX, like you were talking about, where, Celine is like, I think it'd be great if we talked about this on the show. Like it needs more context. It needs more than just like a social post. It needs like a conversation. And so that's like always a great tool. Sometimes people reach out to us, like the AACC always reaches out when it comes time for Art Meets Jazz to talk about the intersection of fine arts and jazz. That's always a fun conversation. It's one part, obviously promotion and like marketing, obviously, but I'd say the vast majority of reason behind the show is purely like it's interesting, it's content, it is fun, and I think that largely it's informational. And it's not just it's not just informational about what MAM does. It's informational about the arts and museums and cultural institutions in general. I'll talk about libraries on the show. I don't really care, but that to me matters, and that's worth talking about. It really just if it makes sense, it makes sense. If that makes sense,
it does make sense. And like you said, because obviously this is your show, you produce it, but I sit next to you and I see a lot of the process, and a fair amount is reactive, which I think is a good thing too, where you have a plan, but you have that list of potential episodes, but you're willing to be like, oh, this really cool thing happened, we should talk about it.
Yeah, the Louvre gets robbed. How do you not talk about it?
How do you not talk about it?
Yeah, I think that's like the beauty of being a weekly show. I think the weekly show is a labor of love, and as my own responsibilities with social media and video production at the museum ramp up and we get into our busier seasons, it's tough to sometimes do things weekly. And if you're a regular listener to the show, that sometimes an episode gets recycled, and it's just, that's the way it goes. But regardless, I want something in that feed every single week, and I think sometimes, to go back and look at an episode from those first couple months is really refreshing. And, with new audience members coming in, they may not be going back and listening to the back catalog. So, I think giving them a chance to revisit those episodes is great. But yeah, if news breaks, it's easy enough to just turn and talk about it. But alas. Melissa, I have another question for you. I think we have about 2 more, including this one.
Okay.
And I'm excited to actually hear your thoughts on this because of your recent gallivanting around Europe and stuff, and visiting museums. But what trends or movements specifically in contemporary art most excite you right now? Are there any shows that you've seen? And I guess maybe we can expect until it's just more than just not obviously not made this year, but the last couple
I might
30
try
years.
To speak a little bit more generally.
Modern art, contemporary art, abstract art, whatever you want to say.
I'm going to start with something I'm not particularly fond of. There is this kind of rush into make digital art, VR art, specifically AI art, which I'm not a huge fan of. But while that's coming up, and I think because of it, there's also this other side where I've noticed a return to nature as art, or this, not just using found materials, but depicting nature, that return to kind of the, not necessarily the landscape, but that kind of theme of the natural world, and using recyclable materials, or commenting on the environment and the environmental landscape, which I think is really interesting. I think it's even more fascinating that while there is this huge push to use AI and digital, all this stuff, there's that counterpoint also as a response. I think about Christian a lot, Christian Battelle,
our friend Christian. Yes, I don't know if Christian's ever been on the show.
No, but you should. She does a lot of she does printmaking here, but in her own personal art, she does a lot with sustainability and using recyclable materials and things that you would just throw away or would end up in landfill to make art. And if you ever heard her, you have made a few videos with her.
Yeah, we do a lot of video content
where she talks about it. It's very fascinating to listen to and to hear her perspective on it.
There's a really popular video we did that has a couple dozen thousand views, I think, on our YouTube, but it's a art lesson with her making Tetra Pak printmaking, where she takes old milk cartons or almond milk cartons or whatever and cuts them up with an X-Acto knife and etches into them and then prints directly from them.
Yeah, and that's her print. Yeah.
I think to your point about I've seen recently Actually, our intern was just talking about it today. This return, like in a sense, a return back to like, like you said, nature or print materials, things like that. But also just like literacy, which seems so like silly to say, but it's kind of like recently I saw some report talking about how like Substack is doing really, really well right now, where all of these, maybe not celebrities, but like, you have like, very, very famous pop artists like Charlie XCX, like creating like Substack, like articles, like writing pages and pages and pages worth of like essentially like literally just like articles kind of like talking about like, I haven't read Charlie's, but like, talking about like theory and culture and like, different things. And just like, there's a YouTuber that I follow that does like 30-minute like video essays where she like makes a cup of coffee or like a cup of tea and like talks about like Marxism and like its relationship to like new wave cinema and stuff. Like it's like there's really like interesting pivot back to long form, winding, meandering kind of conversations rather than like the snappy sort of social presence of like on the beat, which is like dominated culture for the last like 3 years.
That's really funny because when you mention the YouTube essays, I'm like, yeah, I watch YouTube essays all the time of people just picking a topic and like
I was doing it on my lunch.
As opposed to when, I think we always hear no one can concentrate, no one has an attention span anymore. So you got to make your videos as short as possible.
I think there's people that are really reverting back to flexing that muscle, the attention muscle.
I think people are trying. I think people realize that their attention span is degrading, so they're trying to like work that muscle again and try to be more conscious of it.
We kind of just totally didn't talk about the question, but that's totally fine.
We did.
We did. You're
right.
You did.
I answered
but
the
I liked where we pivoted. I like where we meandered. Yeah. But you said that was kind of like an inverse. Is there another follow up to that question of like what movements are kind of exciting you right now? Because I know you started back with what's not exciting you.
The digital not being something or the AI not being something, and then I moved on to the return to nature being something that I'm liking.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I'm also I like we talked about it in the last episode we were together. I like this isn't an artistic movement, but it's happening in the art world. I love what's happening with the art market right now. How people are buying art just because they like it and not because they want to flex their bank accounts or have the prestige of owning something. It's using art as a way to express your personal belief system or your personality. I think is great.
I'm glad you kind of said that because I didn't think we'd have a reason to talk about this, but I'm right now in the pre-production stages for a video that I think is going to be. I don't want to speak about it actually because I don't know if it's going to actually happen. But I'm in the works on a video for the upcoming contemporary art show that we're working in partnership with the Tang Museum at Skidmore College. It's the Ann and Mel Schaefer show. It's their private collection of contemporary art that they've been collecting. And Gail Stavitsky, our chief curator, sent me in preparation for this video the catalog, or maybe not the catalog, but like a booklet featuring Ann and Mel, like an interview with Ann and Mel for the show. And it was interesting hearing Ann talk about the reason why she's a collector and like what she collects and how she actually later on, like after she had kids or while her kids were like young and in school, she would go to classes at I think the New School, she said. I might be misquoting that, but forgive me if I am. But she went to some, like classes on contemporary art collecting and like what to look for. Okay. And she kind of like really fought against the idea of like looking for things that are going to make you money. And I said she kind of fought against the idea of you looking at art as an investment because like, it is like, it's certainly it is the case, but looking at it as something where it's like, I don't care if this appreciates or depreciates. I love this. And I love the message behind this. I love the theme behind this. I love the artist that's creating this. I love their mission. I love everything about this piece, and I don't care what anyone else thinks. And that leads you to like really cool sculptural works, really interesting abstract pieces, maybe something very simple or something that you wouldn't even like a ready-made you wouldn't even consider, a piece of art, for example. Like that to me is really fascinating, and I'm excited for people to see the Ann and Mel Schaefer show. when it comes in the spring.
Because I personally can't think of art that way, of like looking at a piece of art and being like, oh, well, would this be worth something one day? Like, my brain doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Like, I can only think of it, do I like this or not?
Totally,
or do
yeah.
I appreciate this?
Well, I think it's also in the sense where it's like we don't have art buying money. We don't have
we
don't have art market money.
That's
and
fair.
So to me, if I'm making, because I've bought a few pieces that are not at all like anything like wildly expensive, but like, to spend $100 or $200 is a big investment for me. That's groceries,
Yeah.
And so when I'm making a decision about whether or not I want to buy something, the last thing I'm thinking about is its appreciation. Is this something I want to look at every single day?
Yeah.
And that's usually, I think that's what should be driving everybody. Wow, we really deviated.
Wow, okay. Yeah, let's get back.
Melissa, last question I think you have for me.
I do. So if you could sit down and have a conversation with any artist, living, dead, anyone, who would it be?
So
I'm glad to throw the artist question at you.
My gut says Da Vinci, but there would be a language barrier, so I'm gonna not say Da Vinci.
Okay.
Honestly, I think that I would really want to talk to, and I don't know if this counts, but it would allow me, because I am imagining there's a language barrier a lot of the time, but like, I think I would want to talk to somebody from like the lost generation of like the 1920s that like all of the American, like the expats that moved to Paris, and most of them were writers.
Yeah.
But I think like in that realm, maybe not, if I'm not going with like Hemingway or somebody, because like obviously we're talking about fine artists and I understand that. I honestly want to say like Dali. Like I think Salvador Dali would be a very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I think that it would be very fun to pick his brain. I feel like Salvador Dali is somebody that comes to mind, which I feel like is kind of an outside the box answer for me. Otherwise, I would really like to talk to.
If you didn't have to think about a language barrier.
Like, if I didn't have to think about a language barrier?
Yeah.
It's a Da Vinci,
Da Vinci.
But then also like, I don't know. I feel like I'd really enjoy a conversation with Van Gogh.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be very curious about that. I'd also be very curious to talk to some really, really early Renaissance painters. Like even like borderline like unknown, like the ones that can't draw hands, like those guys.
Yeah, like the more medieval art, like right before it turned Renaissance.
That would be very fascinating to me. I also think that I'd really like to just hang out with Keith Haring. I think Keith Haring would be a fun one.
Yeah.
Keith Haring would be really cool. I think that we'd have a lot to chat about.
Yeah.
And I would do it under the scope of anonymity, but I would like to know what's going on with Banksy. If we could do it in like a context where like I'm not like, I don't know.
You're not finding out his name or his,
just talking.
Even seeing his face.
Yeah,
like,
we're just
even
talking.
Just like a phone call.
Yeah, we're just talking. Come on the podcast, Banksy. What are we doing right now? Come on the podcast.
So, like no one will ever hear our small time podcast.
Yeah, no one will ever know. Anyway, all right. Yeah. That's gonna do it. Oh, I gotta ask you, who would you have? Who would you want to talk to?
A lot of the people you said pique my interest. Like Salvador Dali was a good one. Van Gogh, Keith Haring. I think person that just popped in my head is Artemisia Gentileschi.
Oh,
the Italian painter I've talked about. Again, there would be a language barrier, but I would love to pick her brain and see what it was like to be like a practicing independent like female artist in Baroque Italy.
I think semi-similar. I think Mary Cassatt would be an interesting conversation also. Just being like in the boys club that was like that era of like impressionist painting, like John Singer Sargent, Degas, like that whole scene. But alas, well, Melissa, I think we're just about at the end of it.
Okay.
Is there any parting words, anything that you want to say?
Always great talking to you, Alex.
Likewise.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been Maybe Actually Museums Are For Me. Thanks so much for sticking around to the end of this episode. If you like what you heard, you can hear it every Wednesday at 10 a.m. or roughly around 10 a.m. when I remember to upload at 10 a.m. But hopefully at 10 a.m. We got more shows coming at you in the spring. We have the Ann and Mel Schaefer show, like I had mentioned. We have a landscape show coming. There's a lot of fun stuff. This is the Art in Bloom year. If you are familiar with MAM, you know that every 2 years we have the Garden Club of Montclair beautify our galleries with limited time floral exhibitions. It's really great. It's really fun. This has been Maybe Actually Museums Are For Me. Thanks so much for sticking around to the end of this episode. The Montclair Art Museum is open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can check us out online or in person. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.